Welcome back to the Vertu YouTube channel. Now don't fret and don't think we've got it wrong. This isn't a Renault 5. We did that a few weeks ago. This is a Nissan Micra. And if you didn't know, Nissan and Renault have an alliance, and this car was designed alongside the Renault 5. And I think I said some nice things about that, didn't I? This is incredible. But this is in a different category altogether. Everything is just so nice and it's got so much character. There we go. So surely this is going to be good, right? Well, let's test it out and see what it's like. Now before we go into detail, let's talk about money, because we know that's pretty important. Now this could be yours for £21,495 today at the time of filming, from a Vertu dealership. Okay, design-wise, it is a Renault 5 from the outside, pretty much. Let's show you what we mean. It is so similar. Side profile and chassis size and everything like that, very similar. But there are some things that are very Nissan Micra. Let's start at the front, and that is the main differences. Mainly it's the lights. As you can see, Nissan have done the circular sort of lights, a little bit of a nod to the old Nissan Micra around about sort of 2000s, mid-2000s. I remember my mum had a courtesy car, baby blue Nissan Micra. Did nothing for my street cred, believe you me. This is a lot nicer looking than that. But also those circular lights that here that wink at us, by the way, when you turn it on, they're also round at the back as well. They've stuck with that to make it more Nissan Micra, as opposed to just another Renault 5. Oh, and yeah, there's a Nissan badge as well. Right, okay, we've talked about the lights and the main differences there. Let's talk about the rest of the car. Now, there's a line going down the side, a little bit of a design detail. It's called the ice cream scoop, apparently. I don't know what that means, but it's there. Also, we have the wheels. Now, let's talk about trim levels. There are 3 different trim levels. On the entry-level trim, the wheels are actually steel with a cover. But then, 2 other trim levels above that get alloy wheels, all 18-inch in size, and you get 3 different designs, and that goes along with the Renault 5. They like to customise and change the designs. You can do that with the Micra, which I quite like. Also, let's talk about colour options. You get 6 colour options, and you also get the option of a 2-tone sort of colour combination. This is the grey and black you can have for the roof, and then you can mess around with the colour of your actual Micra, the body. So the roof and the body can contrast. We've got the black and grey combo, which I think looks very understated and pretty nice. But play around on the Nissan site, Vertu dealership, and make sure you get the right colour combo for you. The Nissan Micra is not going to be known for its boot space. It's exactly the same as the Renault 5. I've got to stop mentioning it. By the way, if you want to go watch the Renault 5, click and then go watch it. It's a really good review. But this is 276 litres of boot space. There's not a great deal under the floor, and there is a big load. I mean, literally, that's like a high diving board, isn't it? That you find at a swimming pool. Bosh, into the pool. But yeah, it's not a great deal of space, and there's not a lot of frills and spills. You've got a little parcel shelf there that fits into the boot nicely, and you can let the seats down via this little tag here, which is very easy. 60-40 split, and you can put that down if you are looking to get large things in there. But 276 litres, what more do you want? It's bigger than I go. Right, on the inside, it is identical to the Renault 5. Now, I know I'm mentioning that a lot. The Renault 5 is an amazingly put together car. It's fantastic. I could not have raved about that car anymore if I tried. So the fact that the Micra is now that, and it looks cool now, because I remember the Micras of yesteryear, not so cool. Let's remind ourselves of them. So the fact that I'm going on about this being a very similar car to the Renault 5 is a good thing. It's a very good thing. Right, let's talk about the inside of here. Really nice. The soft touchings are everywhere on the dash. We've got soft leather effect there. Nothing cheap about it, and it's different. It's different to your Vauxhall Corsas and Ford Fiestas that are out there. And look, we've got a lot of sort of leather effect stuff there, and it's all across the dash. You've got little bits of hard plastic there, but I'm really not that bothered because I've got so much character in this car, as there were on the Renault 5. I guess the main differences I'd say is that the Renault 5 had a legacy built from the 1970s that they were sort of throwing back, and lots of nods to that car. The Micra, being just very similar to that, is just saying, we've made the Micra really cool. That's what we're saying. There's no throwback to a really cool Micra. We've just all of a sudden got the Micra to look good. And on the inside, it really does look good. The infotainment system is exactly the same as in the Renault. So I've got a very responsive infotainment system, touch screen. Worth mentioning, on the entry level though, you get a smaller display than you do on the trims above that, and this is the top of the range trim that we've got here. But there's lots and lots of things to like about it. Storage is very, very good, very handy. The seats are fantastic. I've got a little bit of a two-tone combo here, blue and cream, with an orange sort of stitch in there. Just keeps me engaged with the interior, and I've got a little bit of different material on there, as well as the leather seats. It is a very, very nice place to be. There's still things that they've kept very similar to the Renault 5. The roof, which again is a little bit of a nod back to the old Renault 5s, where it's just cool in here, I guess. But there is something to remind you are in something that is a Japanese brand. We've got Mount Fuji here. Mount Fuji is there. No cockerel, but Mount Fuji, even though there is a cockerel there, but we'll ignore that. That's cool. Just to remind me, I mean, we had a Roland Garros edition of the Renault 5, and that had clay everywhere. That's got Mount Fuji. Now, the infotainment system I mentioned on the entry level gets a smaller driver display, but it also doesn't come with the Google options that you have on here. It's got a Google options sort of setup. Which is great. We've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, wireless as well, but your Google options won't come on the entry level. You've got to get the trims above that to have that on there. But I really like that the infotainment system sort of curves around, points at me, it's right in my face. But the one thing I really like is what Nissan have kept exactly as the Renault 5 had. I've got buttons for my climate control. I'm not fiddling around on here for climate control options. I've got them here as buttons, and you know I love buttons, which is fantastic. Worth mentioning that this is the top of the range trim that we have here. So I've got heated seats, I've got heated steering wheel, I have got the works in this car. I've got wireless phone charging there, I've got lots of storage options, and it is just a very well thought out cockpit. Worth mentioning that we are in the Evolve, so as well as heated steering wheel and heated seats and all that sort of stuff, I have got an upgraded Harman Kardon sound system, which is fantastic, and obviously I've got the two-tone styling on the inside here as well. That is on the Evolve. But do make sure you go to Vertu and see which trim level fits you best. And I'll go through in a moment, because there is a little bit of a difference with battery and power and range, but we'll do that when we drive it. Back seats, we knew they weren't going to be very big, and they are not. But there are certain things to mention. We have got a nice flat floor. Despite being the plug-in hybrid, we've got a nice flat floor on there, so that's very, very good. We've got ISOFIX points that are clearly located there with the clips, not zips. I like that. And yeah, there's not a great deal of room. That's driving position, and for a tall person, you're going to want to keep journeys to the shorter variety, and my feet barely go under the seat there. But to be fair, headspace, not that bad at all. Rear privacy glass, obviously we've got no charging points here in the back, no USB-C. There are two up front, so the passenger is going to be very, very happy. And obviously we've got wireless charging as well. We've got two up front, none at the back, which is a little bit frustrating. I've got a seat pocket here, but the good news is that sort of two-tone styling in this Evolve edition goes through to the back seats, and it is a really nice interior on this car. There is no getting away from it. I haven't got any sort of armrests or cup holders, but this is a small car, and if you're lucky enough to have this as a first car, the Nissan Micra is going to tick a lot of boxes. Before we get in and drive it, let's talk about the important stuff with electric-y battery stuff. You can tell I'm getting on board with his EVs, right? Anyway, it's very, very important. There are two battery options. The entry level comes with a 40 kilowatt hour battery, gives you 128 brake horsepower and around about 193 miles on the range. Whereas this option, the Evolve, gives you a 52 kilowatt hour battery with around about 148 brake horsepower and a whopping 253 miles on the range. Okay, well, how long does that take to charge and all that sort of stuff? Well, you get a cable that gives you 100 kilowatt worth of power when it comes to charging this, and that is the same with the trim levels, no matter what you've got, and it will give you around about 15 to 80% of charge in around about 30 minutes, which is pretty impressive. Right, the drive of the Nissan Micra. Right, for a start, I just want to say, I'm finally in a cool Nissan Micra. That's what it feels like. I'm turning some heads. Just because I don't think people are used to seeing a Nissan Micra without, dare I say it, someone the age of my mum in it. Is that the tag it's had? But this, I think, is going to be a great first car for someone. And I think it really does, like I said, tick a lot of boxes. Efficiency, real world efficiency when talking about the Nissan Micra. Well, the good news is we've been driving around in around town, we've driven some dual carriageways and bigger roads, and we're getting 4 miles kilowatt hours, and which basically is on par with any sort of small electric vehicle. Again, similar to the Renault 5, it is modelled on that. It's going to be the same car underneath. A lot of people will shout that this has just been rebadged. It's a Renault 5 with a Nissan badge on it. Yes, essentially it is. But why is that a bad thing? It basically means that the Nissan Micra is now great to drive, it looks cool while you're doing it, and it has the performance of that throwback masterpiece, which is the Renault 5. This gets you to 60 miles per hour, the Evolve edition, in around about 8 seconds, which again, not express quick, but definitely quick enough. When you put your foot down, it's absolutely perfect. But I really love it at low speeds in and around town. The turning circle is absolutely fantastic, and it is made for in-town driving. Almost reminds me of the Fiat 500 on the adverts in the little Italian town, if you remember that advert, if you're old enough to remember it. This is absolutely ideal, and along with its sort of cousin, as in the Renault 5, I think are going to be so popular on UK roads. Now, differences to the Renault 5, because we keep going on about how similar it is. Well, this has actually got some flappy paddles here, and they're not to make you feel like you're in a sports car. They're actually the regenerative braking system, which is coming to the Renault 5, but it's not quite there yet. So I can play around with this and actually control how much the car actually brakes for me, and I can actually flip it all the way to when I've got a one pedal driving system, which basically to you and I means that if I take my foot off the accelerator, it will brake for me to an exact stop, which is going to be coming on the Renault 5, by the way. It's not revolutionary, but it's on the Nissan Micra, and the Renault 5 hasn't got it. Come on, Micra. You're beating it in regards to regen braking. When you do flip it into sport mode, by the way, it does make a bit of a difference. You put your foot down, it does throw you back a little bit, which is really quite cool. A lot of these cars do not do much in sport mode, but remember, this is the top of the range Evolve that we are driving. I should imagine there's slightly less power of the entry level, might not do as much, but that's really quite a cool thing as well. Okay, one more thing to do, we need to check out the reverse camera. So I use my big stalk here. I've got so many stalks. This is what Nissan have done, similar to what Renault did. I've got a third stalk for my volume instead of having it on the steering wheel, but I've got a big old stalk here for my gear selector. The reverse camera isn't the most HD thing in the world, but I have got sensors all around me as well, just to let me know that I am in fact going into a space, and it's absolutely fine. It's no problem. I haven't got an issue with it. And yeah, it gets me into space, no problem. It does beep at me when I'm close to things and all that sort of stuff. But could it be more HD? Yes, it certainly could. But I'm not complaining too much about it, or am I? Possibly. In a time where fuel prices are through the roof, EV sales are also going through the roof, or definitely inquiries. So when it comes to small hatchbacks, you cannot beat the Renault 5 or this Nissan Micra. The Nissan Micra in terms of price is going to be very, very similar, maybe a little bit less, but if you get in contact with Vertu and consider the Nissan Micra as your next EV of choice, you are not going to go far wrong, because everything on the inside here is so aesthetically pleasing and it drives like a dream. Cannot recommend it enough. That is the Micra done. Now, I'm not going to mention the Renault 5 ever again. This is a very nice hatchback. I can't say all them things about the Renault 5 and then say anything bad about this, can I? It is a very, very nice thing on the inside, very nice to drive, and it is going to be priced exactly where that other car is priced as well. But don't take my word for it, get in touch with Vertu and drive one of these. You will not regret it, because I love this thing. We will see you very soon for another car.